Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
A very, very good afternoon. Second part of the Recusant 9 transmissions. I put one out yesterday on Sunday for 2 hours, and I'm hoping I can get through the rest of what I need to get through this today. Excuse me. A few people got in touch with me yesterday pleading to put it out free to air. So this one has gone out free to air. Quick recap on what we did yesterday. And by the way, come on, it's 75 bloody pence. It's 75 pence, and the reason why some of you want it free to air is because you know the impact it has, these transmissions have, and another reason, of course, is we know the bootleggers, the big team and the rest of them all come along to try and see what they can find out. So very good afternoon to all of you. This one has gone out free to air, and hopefully as a consequence, during the course of this transmission, more than 15 people will like and share it, and maybe a handful of you who don't ordinarily support me will consider clicking on one of the links at the top and buying me a samosa, or just clicking on the link on YouTube, and there's a whole host of super chat options available to you. So please, if you can support me, do so, particularly if you are not a supporter or a regular supporter, because these transmissions only go out with the support of people, ordinary people. I am 100% community funded, and I'm proud of that. A recap. Yesterday's transmission, first of all, exposed Councillor Nazrul Islam as a racist using the term Gora. Gora is a deeply offensive term towards white people. Whilst the literal translation is white, it does not mean that when used in the context to describe white people. This should not be something alien or difficult to understand to people who accept that the abbreviation of the word Pakistani to Paki is racist, and also accept terms such as Negro are also racist and not just to describe the French spelling of the colour black. These things, you know and I know, have an ulterior meaning, a very clear meaning, and these are racist terms. Nazrul Islam, of course, should be sacked, suspended and sacked in his role as councillor, and many of you should be submitting a standards complaint. I know Lee has herself, Lee Cook here, hi Lee, who attended the meeting last Wednesday, very ill, by the way, and she attended the meeting, and she's submitted a standards complaint. You really need to get off your backsides, open the laptops or your iPads and submit a standards complaint. It takes 10 minutes to do. This is a councillor who is clearly racist towards white people, and is so casual in his racism. What I've always found in my life, the worst form of racism is that casual racism, where they don't even recognise or realise that they are being racist. Samosas and mango chutney are not racist. This is. Councillor Nazrul Islam is racist, and it should make matters are, of course, should be worse, because Arut Shah is the Greater Manchester lead on equality. She's Andy Burnham's lead on equality. If Nazrul Islam worked for me, he'd be sacked. There's just no ambiguity. I'd sack him. That's exactly what I would do with Nazrul Islam. Councillor for Chadderton Central. Next is Councillor Mark Hintz, who contacted a friend of mine to very late night drunk dialing leaving angry, aggressive messages, including making reference to me as a dick or a dickhead. So warning to Councillor Markins, annoy any of my friends again, or contact them to abuse me, instead of phoning me up yourself, you coward, and I will release the recordings, your drunken rants recordings, in the public domain. You won't like that. So be very, very careful, Markins. Markins, of course, is angry because he was exposed for trying to sabotage the Fails of Independent Party motion, and I don't know why he's picking on me. All I did was bring it to public attention. In the council chamber itself, Brian Hoban and Lucia Ray, both of the Fails of Independent Party, stood up and objected to what Markins and Sandra Ball had tried to do. Their own sidekick, Maggie Hurley, from the Royton Independents, the pothole party, the fake independents, left the independent group as a consequence of what Markins and Sandra Ball had done, apparently without consultation with Maggie Hurley. And every opposition councillor in the council chamber voted against Markins and Maggie Hurley. Don't shoot the messenger. I simply highlighted what you had done. Everybody in opposition agreed with me, and people across the borough agreed with me. What you did was outrageous, it was scandalous, and you sought to exploit and use this issue for your own personal gain. Next, we have Councillor Maggie Hurley, who, after sitting mute once again, she's now gone a full council year without standing up and saying anything. No motions, no questions, no seconding, nothing. Released via the Royton Independent Facebook page a complete fallacy saying that the Royton Independent stood alongside the survivors of CSC. Survivors of CSC took to social media and made it very clear that Maggie Hurley and the Royton Independent were utter scum. And I think those are their words, utter scum, not mine. Maggie Hurley, John Hughes, the puppet master John Hughes, they're attempting to, and Jade Hughes, I think, who stood last time, I'm not sure what Darren Radcliffe's position is or what Jade Hughes' position is. I'd like to think she's got her own voice rather than a puppet for her father. The Royton Independents are attempting to blackmail the Oldham Conservatives into not putting up a candidate in Royton South. Apparently they'll put up a candidate in Royton North to sabotage Lewis Quigg, knowing full well they won't win. This is the Royton Independents. This is your Maggie Hurley, independent Maggie Hurley, attempting to blackmail the Conservative councillor Lewis Quigg, who is the champion of this town, if there is anyone, who in the council chamber, and saying if you put up a candidate, if the Conservatives put up a candidate in Royton South, a seat that they can win, we will put up a candidate in Royton North to make sure that you lose your seat, Lewis Quigg. So that's what is going on in Royton with the Royton Independents. Not doing very well, are you, Maggie? We then also saw Howard Sykes run rings round Oldham Council yesterday. Howard Sykes ran rings round Oldham Council. At the council meeting last week, our analysis, of course, was yesterday, around the Green Belt issue and Andy Burnham's Places for Everyone scheme. Howard Sykes and the Liberal Democrats are now echoing our language of becoming a slave town to slave borough to Andy Burnham and his Greater Manchester model, where we take all the low-end jobs, we live in the slum housing, and we provide cheap labour, so that the haves, the well-to-dos, can continue to prosper. And also the brown belt, the brown field first policy, which every other opposition councillor also supported by Howard Sykes. Build on every last bit of brownfield site before we even consider any green belt, and then we'll have a review. Arud Shah, Elaine Taylor in particular, led the vote against this and led the vote to destroy the borough's green belt. So all of that was exposed last time. If you're finding value in this transmission, to the 60 of you who are watching me live right now, please consider pressing, at the very least, the like reaction, and maybe buy me a samosa or a super chat. Those things are available. And give me a second whilst I just set up for continuing the analysis.
The leader, how can she and her cabinet give Oldham Athletic £1 million to spend on a football pitch, while road maintenance projects receive comparatively less funding? Could you kindly provide an explanation and justification for this allocation? Understanding the reasoning behind such decisions would greatly help in fostering transparency and trust within the community. I call on Councillor Shah to respond.
Okay, so the question was to do with the £1 million, don't call it a bribe, to Frank Rothwell and Oldham Athletic Football Club just during Purdah, awarded during Purdah, just before last year's election in a desperate attempt to save Labour Party seats, particularly Amanda Chadderton in Royton. What happened was that this grant came out of nowhere, and the grant at the time we were led to believe was to do with making sure that community groups, not the Latics sports team, not the rugby club, none of that, community groups could access this provision. That's not me saying it. That's what was told to us at the time from official sources. You can go away and check it. What we now know, of course, is hardly any community groups have used it. For FOI responses have gone in, questions have been asked in the council chamber, and they've been extremely evasive as to how many children have accessed it for free, if free at all, how many groups have used it, all of that, all very evasive, and of course it will get only worse and worse as we move along. So Arooj Shah is asked to justify handing over £1 million to a private business, belonging to a friend of hers, by the way. Labour handing over £1 million, not Arooj Shah, because Arooj Shah wasn't in power at the time. Labour handing over £1 million to a private business owned by Frank Rothwell, a friend of Arooj Shah's, who campaigned on behalf of Arooj Shah, using his own money to try and keep her in power in Chadderton South at the time we ousted her. Those things are facts. The matters of public record. This is her response.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor, and I'd like to thank Mr Ghaffar for his question. Put simply, the investment into a new pitch at Boundary Park was made to secure the future of rugby league here in...
She claims it was to secure the future of rugby league in Oldham. At no point has that been given as a reason previously, and she's just plucked that out of thin air. And there is no reason why, either why public money should be handing over, £1 million of our money should be handed over to secure the future of rugby league in the town, which, by the way, is not true. The Ruffians were playing somewhere. Yeah, they did not have to move to Boundary Park.
As it allowed a ground sharing partnership between Latics and the Ruffians to be developed, which is really important. It's also opened the...
Why is it really important? Really important. Really, 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 really. Why was it really important? Why was it really important for a ground share to take place? With £1 million of your money.
Also, other community-led use of the pitches, including by youth teams and by
other community-led use of the pitch, including by youth teams. Did you see what she slipped in there? Included by youth teams means the youth teams of Oldham Athletic. She doesn't mean little Johnny who plays at, I don't know, on a pitch in Limeside, on a park in Limeside. That's not what she meant.
sports. The council investment is a catalyst to unlocking further funding opportunities directly.
The council investment is a catalyst to unlocking further funding opportunities. Okay, let's have it then. Which other further funding opportunities has emerged as a consequence of giving £1 million to Flat Cap Frank? What other funding opportunities have emerged? Zero.
Aimed at supporting grassroots provision, youth sports, community engagement and participation through both Oldham Athletic and Oldham Rugby League clubs. I wouldn't want to apologise for investing in the things that matter to this town and to the people that live in it.
She wouldn't want to apologise for things that matter to the people in this town. Did handing over £1 million of your money to 2 private businesses? What if you run a private business? I've got a friend of mine who runs a restaurant. Many restaurants struggling at this time. They matter to me, they matter to my friends who attend. Is the council going to bail them out? Or did they have to start selling shisha bars and having a postal vote section in the corner for postal vote registrations for the council to bail them out? This, to all extents and purposes, this £1 million grant, this scandal of this £1 million grant will not go away. It does not matter how many of you feel uncomfortable as a consequence of it, because it's about time we got some of the money. No. If you think like that, this town will never heal. They're stealing something. They're looting that building over there. So let me go and loot it. No. That £1 million should never have been awarded. It should never have been awarded in the way it has been. And now Arud Shah and the Labour Party administration are unable to quantify how it is being used. And instead are involved in this gobbledygook nonsense. Thank you very, very much to those of you who have super chatted me. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Gary. Debbie. And of course, Sue. Thank you very, very much. That's exactly what it was about, wasn't it, mate? It was to curry favour. Can you use the word curry favour? Is that racist, Gary? Is that racist? Curry favour. Curry favour and gather votes from Latics fans to save Amanda Chadderton. This scandal will not go away, and Arud Shah will not be able to make it go away. I want to forward to something, the motions now, please. Just give me a second. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. This is the Gaza motion. I want you to hear it. This is Arud Shah's Gaza motion. This is what they tried to do to manipulate the Muslims into pretending the Labour Party were on the side of the Muslims. This is what they did. And Ross Birch is one of them who spoke, because she's about to be taken out in Waterhead by my friend Naveed Chauhan, who I urge you all to vote for from the Oldham group.
Leave the room.
So the Conservatives left the room. In fact, let me bring that back.
Councillor Hussain Junaid. Councillor Hussain Sajid. Councillor Ibrahim.
We have 30 minutes for. In considering motions, members are reminded of the public sector equality duty to foster good relations between different groups.
Mr Deputy Mayor, can I raise a point of order?
Go ahead.
The Conservative group have asked for clarification from the legal team prior to this meeting about the constitutional validity of this motion and have not had a reply. Could I have a reply, please?
Okay, so what he's asking for, that's Graham Sheldon, the Conservative leader. The Conservative group have asked about the constitutional validity of this motion. In 2015, a motion was presented to the council to do with drink driving by the Lib Dems, and the council rejected hearing the motion on the basis that they claimed it had nothing to do with Oldham. So that precedent had been set by Arud Shah and her mates previously. The Labour Party had done that previously. So here we go. This motion, the borough solicitor, the mayor had not responded to the validity of that, so they raised a point of order, and this was the response.
Solicitors, through Councillor Sheldon, I know that the issues was effectively raised by a member of the Conservative group about whether or not the motion was within scope, within the Constitution, and asked the Mayor. It's the Mayor that determines whether or not the particular...
So that is the borough solicitor who clearly says it's the Mayor's decision. So the reason why Gaza was allowed to be discussed the way it was, to the time, the extended time that went well over time, the way it was, and the reason why we ran out of time to even stand up and say a single word about the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our town's children was a consequence of the actions of the mayor, who decided what could be debated and couldn't be debated in the meeting and how much time he allowed and didn't allow. And the mayor in this case is that bald white man with the glasses in the middle, Eddie Moores. So there's no ambiguity. Don't blame the Muslims. There's a Muslim you're looking at right now who argued against all of this. Eddie Moores did this. Eddie Moores. No one else. Don't go looking anywhere else. Eddie Moores, Labour Party councillor up for re-election in Chadderton North, is the man who allowed the filibustering and allowed the agenda to be manipulated so the time was wasted, whereby the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our town's children could not be discussed and debated in the council chamber. Of course, Eddie Moores then also went and voted against a judge-led inquiry. Eddie Moores is a partner in the cover-up.
Motion is within scope. The Mayor has considered, the Deputy Mayor has considered, and they can indicate that they feel that in the circumstances the motion is within scope.
Can I just add to that? The Deputy Mayor has considered that on advice from myself and the monitoring officer, who both...
So the Deputy Mayor has, so there's no ambiguity there. That's the Chief Executive saying the Deputy Mayor has considered that, and he's been backed up by his boys, Paul Entwistle, and the part-time Chief Executive who was given a dodgy job role, brought back from retirement on £100 and something thousand a year, Dirty Harry Caffrell. 3 white men sat there responsible. You can see it right there. 3 white men sat there responsible for this, for what took place.
This is a perfectly reasonable motion to consider.
The Conservative group respectfully will not take part in this debate.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
So the Conservative group on the back of that decided to stand up and walk out. And you can hear Arud Shah saying that's fine, completely out of order. It's not her place to speak. It's not her place to speak. Now, do I think the Conservative group did the right thing? I've urged them to walk out previously when we were being manipulated over the CSE, and they haven't done. But they chose to walk out on this issue. Now, when I spoke to Lewis, and from my understanding, it wasn't the issue that they chose to walk out over. It was the fact that this was not constitutional. I don't know. I'd have preferred them to be in the meeting to vote against Shah. And stand up and say, speak up and stand up and say that Shah is attempting to manipulate the Muslims in Oldham and stoke further division. That's what I would have done. But it's not me. And I understand what the Conservatives did. I understand what they did, and I understand the reasons why they did what they did.
Wait while the Conservative members leave the room. I call on Councillor Shah to move and Councillor Birch to second the motion.
Proudly, Mr. Deputy
Proudly,
Mayor.
proudly.
It's really sad, and we need to
Really,
acknowledge
really,
that
really.
horrific situation that is going on before our eyes across TV, social media. We live in a nightmare. People are living a nightmare, and the Conservatives don't think it's worth mentioning when it's impacting the residents of our borough and residents.
So she used it to attack the Conservatives. You can see she's angry, and she's quite happily using it to slap the Conservatives, which we knew she would do.
They represent. This motion tonight is brought here because local people, Oldham residents from all areas and backgrounds are asking us to do something. They're asking...
Okay. Local people from all backgrounds from across the borough have been asking Oldham Council to do something about the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of little white girls in their own town in an area you can actually make a difference to. Arud Shah. Yet you have not. Because you are complicit in the cover-up. And your reason why you're complicit in the cover-up is not because I believe you or your mates made any money from trafficking little girls. No, I don't believe that. But I genuinely do believe that your mate, Jim McMahon, your master, the one who secures you all these roles, is complicit in the cover-up, and his political career would be ruined. And secondly, as you say, Lynn, from the commencement of the outbreak of the conflict, members of the community, including yourselves, Lynn, including yourself, have been outraged and horrified by what you've seen on the TV screens, read in the newspapers, and the Labour Party-run administration has had multiple attempts to say something. You know why she hasn't? Because she wanted to protect her career. You know why Jim McMahon hasn't and then abstained on the vote? Let's not forget that her master abstained on the vote was because it allowed him to get back into the shadow cabinet. He was rewarded. She supported him and he was rewarded for his complicity. So this alternate reality that Arud Shah is occupying is nothing but grandstanding and political posturing, and it has emerged as a direct consequence of events in Rochdale where George Galloway rocked up, rolled his sleeve, tipped his hat, and gave Labour the type of slapping, the hiding that many of us, irrespective of what we think of George Galloway, couldn't do otherwise but look, sit back and smile, because they got the beating of their lives. And she's now worried she's going to get the shit kicked out of her in Waterhead, where her councillor Ross Birch is standing, because Naveed Chauhan is standing against her. She's worried that Akil Salamat will get took out in St Mary's. She's worried that whoever's standing up in Alexander is going to get the shit kicked out of him in Alexander. When I say these words, what I mean is at the ballot box, clearly, and get defeated at the ballot box, they're going to get wiped out. And likewise in Hollingwood. So that's what she's playing at. And what we now will evidence is a whole host of Labour councillors standing up and saying things that actually aren't in their motion. If you go and look at the actual motion, the motion criticises Hamas. It doesn't say anything about criticising Israel. It doesn't say anything about international court of justice. It doesn't say anything about collective punishment. All of those things were introduced by Cameron Ghaffar and the Oldham group in their amendment. And her response to all of that is that these men These people, these Muslims, aren't the right sort of Muslims. They're not the right sort of Oldhamers, and that they're stoking up hatred. It's the exact same narrative that they use to describe us. Arud Shah and the Labour Party and the establishment are using the exact same narrative to demonise law-abiding Muslims in the same way they demonise law-abiding citizens who objected to the gang rape of little girls. It's the same tactic used against both communities. The problem she's now got is that we're all wise to her.
To speak out. This is not a political issue. It is a...
Of course, it's a political issue because it requires a political solution. And your own motion makes reference to the politics of the issue. I'm starting to think who wrote the motion and what have any of these Labour Party councillors checked the motion before they speak.
Issue, and one which should unite us in this chamber and across the borough. Our residents are horrified about what's going on in Gaza. They were horrified after the October 7th attack by Hamas in Israel, and they've continued to be horrified at the scenes of death and destruction that have come out and are still coming out of Gaza since. The loss of life is intolerable. Every single day, our screens are flooded with images of dead and injured civilians in Gaza, just as they were flooded with the horrific images of the October 7th attacks. It is easy, at a distance, to dehumanise the victims of this conflict, but they are children, mothers, fathers, doctors, teachers. As a reminder of how small and connected this world is, just 2 weeks ago, a local woman was reunited with her husband.
Amy went to the rescue on business class. Amy. She's sat there promoting her gangster boyfriend, or whatever he is. She stood there promoting her gangster boyfriend, repeatedly promoting her gangster boyfriend. Throughout history, gangsters have gone on PR trips to try and hide what they're really doing or what they're really about.
Been stuck in Gaza and injured in the attacks by the Israeli military. He was located and supported by volunteers who have been out in the region since October delivering aid to the Palestinian people. This conflict is not about other people. Oldham people are both impacted through family connections in Palestine and Israel and are volunteering and supporting aid efforts on the ground. This makes this...
How many Israeli family members has she spoken to? I'd wager 0. I'd wager 0.
Council business. What is clear is that there is nothing to be gained by continuing hostilities and more innocent civilians dying as a result. This council is calling for an immediate ceasefire, the immediate release of hostages, and increase...
The council's motion does not call for an immediate ceasefire. The council's motion does not call for an immediate ceasefire. She's lying. She's a liar. The council's motion does not call for an immediate ceasefire. I think that's what I'm chuckling at. She doesn't speak to the white constituents in Oldham, never mind Jewish families. Agreed. 100% agreed.
An unimpeded access for humanitarian aid into the region and a commitment to work towards lasting peace in that region. The residents of this borough...
So if the council wants to support the commitment towards working towards a lasting peace in the region, that means a political solution. So of course it's political. She doesn't even understand what she's reading, does she? This woman doesn't even understand what she's reading. She's just been desperate to say, we need to, Imi's been saying, we need to do something. I can't get my boys to vote for us anymore because of the Gaza, innit? Yeah, I went and got that guy out, didn't I? Yeah. Flew him back business class and everything. Yeah, but they're still not going to vote for us, Arooj. What we going to do, Arooj? We need to do something. We need to get one of those ceasefire motions down here, Arooj.
Need us to speak for them, and they need us to be their voice in calling for an end to the senseless violence that is being inflicted on the people of that region. They need to know we are using our voices and using our influence at every point to bring about peace, to ensure humanitarian aid is provided, and to champion.
Which is why you waited until just before the election. I had to practice that accent, Jack. It doesn't come easy to me, I'm afraid. Yeah, Arooj. Innit, Arooj?
The human rights and protections of those affected by this conflict. We are also feeling the local impacts of this conflict here in Oldham, with an increase in anti-Semitic and Islamophobic rhetoric and abuse.
Okay, she's claiming in Oldham that there's been an increase in Islamophobic and anti-Semitic rhetoric and abuse. She will not be able to quantify that. She will not be able to quantify that. She's just made that up. She stood up in the council chamber and claiming an increase in anti-Semitic and Islamophobic abuse. And actually, they're not one and the same thing, by the way. I get the anti-Semitism stuff. But what's the Islamophobic abuse? Because Islamophobia is a very complex term that I'm not satisfied with the interpretation and definition of. So, for instance, if I criticize teachings out of the Torah, or if I criticize teachings out of the Old Testament or the New Testament, am I being anti-Semitic? You know, the things where they say about stringing gay people up and stuff like that. I object to it. Does that make me anti-Semitic? No. Does that make me anti-Christian? No. If I have a belief that women are right to choose what they do with their own bodies, and it's up to them to whether they have an abortion or not, within legal limits and all of that sort of stuff, does that make me anti-Christian? No. During the Prophet's time, and you know, the reason these early transmissions is because I'm fasting. This is Ramadan, I am a Muslim. During the Prophet's time, the criticism of the Islamic faith, of the faith, was took very well. You could critique it, you could analyse it, you could question it. You could even object to it. Those things now appear to suggest that you're Islamophobic and anti-Muslim hatred. You're not. Criticise my faith as much as you want to do. Question me on my faith as much as you want to do. Have your opinion on my faith as much as you want to do. That is not the same as prejudice towards me as a person and hating me and discriminating me and inciting violence against me. There's a clear distinction, and these people want to hide that distinction. Yeah, I've said it.
This motion resolves to do something locally to address this through our Oldham Interfaith Forum and other local partnerships.
So she's claiming Islamophobia, she's claiming anti-Semitism, and she's saying she wants to do something through the Oldham Interfaith Forum network. No. If you're a victim of Islamophobia, as in anti-Muslim hatred, you're being called you're an effing Muslim and someone's throwing bacon at you or something like that, you don't go to the Interfaith network. You go to the police. If you're one of my Jewish friends and some scrote is drawing a SWAT sticker on your front door, you don't phone Arooj Shah. You go to the police. Why is she advocating going to council structures instead of going to the police? Thank you. It's exactly that, isn't it? It's like saying what Israel is doing is wrong, even genocidal. And I can say that, you can say that, but that's not me being anti-Semitic, is it? That's exactly what she's doing, Ian. She's using this terrible conflict to divert attention. It's virtue signalling of the worst kind. 100% agree with you, Ian. And good to see you, mate.
We have to actively reject the dark forces who would seek to divide us. And
Who are the dark forces that would seek to divide us? Just who on earth are the dark forces that would seek to divide us? It's one of the reasons I wanted Lewis Quigg actually in there. You'd have stood up and said point of order or something in response to that. Who are the dark forces?
instead come together with one voice to speak out for humanity. I understand that we are not the United Nations. I understand that we aren't even the Foreign Office.
Listen, lass. Forget the United Nations and the Foreign Office. You can't even run a fucking council. You can't even run a town hall. What services can you deliver well? You can't deliver children's services well, can you? Because Ofsted or whatever have come in and ripped you to pieces recently. What are you delivering well? I wouldn't start on such a high bar. I'd start on whether or not you can take people's bins.
Our power and our influence is limited. But concerned residents need to know we're using every power we have to speak on their behalf and
using every power we have to speak on their behalf, which is why we've waited until the last council meeting before the election. And which is why Arud Shah, as leader of the council, has not said a single word before. Don't worry, Amy, don't worry, I'll fix it at the council meeting. Watch, Amy, we'll get a motion in. Watch, Amy, your boys will really love it, Amy. Can we have some Virginia chicken now, Amy? We had Florida yesterday, can we have Virginia today?
half of the children, the men, the women, the medics, the journalists and aid workers of Gaza. I could speak for a long time on this issue, Mr. Deputy Mayor, but I know that there are many members from all groups, well, some groups, who will wish to contribute to this discussion, and it's important that we hear from them. I would finally, Mr. Deputy Mayor, like to say I would urge members across the chamber to support this motion. Thank you.
I want you to listen to Ross Birch and tell me whether you think she's been in any way authentic.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. All lives are equal. All races are equal. I can put no man, woman or other above another.
All lives are equal. All races are equal. I can put no man, woman or other above each other. Except if you're a white working class girl living in Waterhead who was groomed and gang raped at the old Count Hill School, part of Waterhead Ward, isn't it? In which case, Ross Birch has absolutely nothing to say about it, won't defend you, won't protect you, won't speak on your behalf because she knows where her chapatis come from, or she used to know where her chapatis used to come from. Yeah.
I can say that what is happening in Gaza has no place under this title of humanity. Now, I'm sad to say that those aren't my own words. Those are a quote from Rhys Dinsdale, the actor and director. But I really couldn't put more feelings about the current situation.
No.
Myself.
No.
The horror of what took place on October the 7th cannot be condoned, neither can the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Mr. Deputy Mayor, I stand to second this motion to highlight the concerns of residents of Waterhead and throughout the borough.
Well, she's not been throughout the borough, but she's highlighting the concerns of residents of Waterhead because she and her mates have gone knocking on the Muslim doors in Waterhead and they've said this to her. That's what they've said to her, this. No chance are we voting for you lot. Your mate, Keir Starmer. Are you proud of Keir Starmer, by the way, Ross Birch? Are you like Nazrul Islam, proud of Keir Starmer? Because your mate, Keir Starmer, in radio interviews, on his own volition, more than suggested that Israel was allowed to commit collective punishment, which under the Geneva Convention is a war crime. So that's what's happened to Ross Birch. The Labour Party core vote has told her where to go. The Labour Party core vote has told her where to go, and she is just about to lose her place at the trough. And that's what Ross Birch is worried about. She's not worried about Gaza. She's worried about losing her council seat. She's worried about losing her council seat. Debbie, if you're in Waterhead, you need to vote for Naveed Chauhan. He's the one who will defeat Ross Birch. He's the one with the most likely chance to take Ross Birch out and remove another Labour Party councillor. I will be delivering leaflets in Waterhead at some point for Naveed, as I will be also delivering leaflets for Councillor Iqbal in Hollingwood. We are together on this, and you can see that their attempt to exploit this issue will backfire on Arud Shah and Irish Imi.
Many of whom have family and friends caught up in the conflict. As a local authority, there's little that we can do to influence foreign.
Many of whom have family caught up in the conflict. How many have family caught up in the conflict? I don't know. I've only seen the story of the one lady whose husband was there. How many? Thank you, Debbie. If you've already been in contact with him, thank you.
Policy, but we can speak out about the atrocities taking place daily. There is an urgent need for a human...
Okay, if we can speak out about the atrocities taking place daily. Follow this through. If we can speak out against the atrocities taking place daily, why in your motion does it not make any reference to who is committing those atrocities? Why does it make no reference in your motion to who is encouraging those atrocities? Why is it that the only group in your motion that you criticise is Hamas? And I most definitely am no fan of Hamas. But as a person who has worked in war zones across the world, I understand why people are drawn to organisations like Hamas. It is because they lose hope. That's it, isn't it? Starmer and Shah have said you can't mention Israel by name.
Ceasefire in Gaza and the immediate release of all hostages.
See, there you go. Let me just play that bit again. She actually reads the bit to do with what's from the motion. This is the bit to do from the motion.
Nations. The ongoing violence and conflict in the region have caused immeasurable suffering and destruction, with innocent civilians bearing the brunt of the attacks. It's heartbreaking to see families torn apart, homes destroyed, and lives lost in the relentless bombings and airstrikes. The civilian population in Gaza is facing severe shortages of water, food, and medical supplies, making it increasingly difficult for them to survive and endure these unimaginable conditions. A humanitarian ceasefire is essential to provide much-needed relief.
A humanitarian ceasefire. A humanitarian ceasefire. No such thing, by the way. Created by the Labour Party. You ever have a ceasefire? You don't. You don't put an adjective in front of it. The word you'd actually put an adjective in front of is immediate. Or permanent. Or maybe two adjectives, immediate and permanent. It is, isn't it? It's like a game of guess who is doing the destruction. Let's talk around it.
The people of Gaza. It's a critical step towards ensuring the safety and well-being of civilians, allowing humanitarian organisations to deliver aid and assistance to those in need. It's a gesture of humanity and compassion in the face of overwhelming devastation and despair. We should not ignore the suffering of innocent civilians caught up in the crossfire on both sides. We must act now to end the violence and create a conducive environment for peace and reconciliation. A humanitarian ceasefire and the release of hostages will also create an opportunity for dialogue and diplomacy to take priority over violence and conflict. It could pave the way for meaningful negotiations toward a lasting and sustainable peace agreement.
Ross Birch can't even string a sentence together. Never mind put forward second this motion. You can see that. You can see how she's behaving. She's using words that aren't hers, constructed in a way that she hasn't written. And yes, he's in La La Land, isn't he? Look at Pete Davis's face in the background. Have a look at Pete Davis's face in the background. Do you think he's enjoying this? Look at Angela Cosgrove's face in the background. No. They've been whipped. They've been whipped. And whip some more. Maybe they've been, they've got the promise of a shisha and some gelatos. And some... I'm struggling with the Yorkshire Street chicken shop names, I'm afraid, because I'm not really a frequenter of them. I know there's a Virginia one. I know there's a Florida one. Is Kansas still there? Kansas was never there, was it? Kansas was near Butterflies on Union Street. It's the only one I remember. But that's gone, hasn't it? What else is there? Well, Kentucky can't have. I don't know. Florida. Well, I've got Florida. Thank you, Florida. So there's Florida chicken? Yeah.
That respects the rights and wishes of both Palestinian and Israeli people. All parties involved in the conflict need to prioritise the well-being and the safety of civilians and to respect the principles of international humanitarian law. The international community...
There's no such thing as principles of international humanitarian law. There's no such thing. It's international law. There's no such thing as international humanitarian law. They've got the word humanitarian, so they need to put it in everywhere. No, my friend John, we have a whole host of chicken shops. We're going for a representation of every American South state on Yorkshire Street.
needs to put pressure on all sides to uphold the values of humanity and compassion and to support the establishment of a humanitarian ceasefire in Gaza.
Another humanitarian.
Both sides to work towards a two-state solution.
Oh, yeah.
As Oldhamers, we need to stand together in solidarity.
I would wager Ross Birch has no idea where Palestine is on a map, or Gaza is on a map, or Israel is on a map. I bet she couldn't tell the difference between Tel Aviv and Texas. She wouldn't know the difference. Is there a Georgia fried chicken? Well, I'm getting some. I'm getting some advice. Is the one to go to? By the way, guys, I have the odd one when my brother. When I'm watching the football at my brother's, he'll order, but it's usually from, is it Virginia or Florida? I think it's Florida it's usually from. Councillor Birch is humanitarian. Humanitarian Birch.
Solidarity with all the people of Gaza and work towards a future where peace and justice succeed. We should not allow the tragedies and atrocities of today become the legacy of tomorrow. We need to strive for a world where all people can live in peace and dignity, free from fear and violence. Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Oh, well done, yippee, yippee!
We have two amendments to this motion. The first amendment, I call on Councillor Alamdani to move and Councillor Arkness.
Amdani's amendment I couldn't really be asked with, and this idiot I couldn't be bothered with. Oh, her you've got to listen to. The fake crocodile tears, she's up for re-election. Ruji Surjan is up for re-election.
Genocide we're seeing unfold. Ask yourselves,
the fake,
how would
you know,
you
the
feel
fake,
sitting in a tent, watching
the
a
crocodile
family
tears
thrive,
you're gonna have to
living
see.
in your home,
You're gonna have
your
to
land,
see humanitarian
whilst its government
fried
sporadically
chicken.
killed members of your
I'd
family
imagine that's
as and when it pleased.
stung before
Humanity
slaughtered.
lost, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a number of people wishing to speak. I'll try and take them in some sort of order. Councillor Surjan.
Thank you,
Here
Mr
we go.
Deputy Mayor. I rise to support this amendment and the motion. Growing up in the late 90s, one of the first critical moments in history I remember was the Bosnian War. I saw children and teenagers such as myself fleeing their country, fearing for their lives, losing members of the household as they walked across the border for shelter, security and safety. I had the good fortune in 2015 of visiting Bosnia and seeing for myself firsthand the atrocities of the war. To this day,
You didn't go first stand 50 yards in your constituency to where the teenage girls are prostituting themselves behind the Milan restaurant, Arkwright Street, have you? No, can't do that, can you, Ruji? She was expecting an Oscar for Best Performance. I agree. Because if you cared this much, if Ruzi Surjan cared this much, she would have agreed with the Oldham Group's amendment to write to the United Nations, demanding that informing them that the people of Oldham stand alongside all of those who stand for peace. She'd condemn collective punishment. Oh.
Bosnians are still finding remains of their loved ones in mass graves, and they're being unearthed. The United Nations allies and the world failed them, and we said never again.
There's a rewriting of history there. Many things went wrong in Bosnia, but I remember the Labour government because I was working with the Labour government at the time. I remember Tony Blair at the time. And the last Conservative Prime Minister even. Was it Major at the time? Raising these issues, trying their best to get the United Nations to intervene in Bosnia. There was a failure. The safe havens didn't work. And what's very clear is, and this is the rewriting of history that shouldn't be allowed to happen by the likes of Ruji Surjan, because it's dangerous, because it creates a divisive narrative of a them and us narrative. And the reason why she's making reference to Bosnia is because of the religious connotations of the Bosnian Muslims. The United Nations pursued the war criminals, and they're currently standing trial or have trial in The Hague, Milosevic and the others. The country is very different, and the ethnic conflict there was also very different. There was other things going on there. The United Kingdom, along with many other countries, took in many Bosnian refugees. Thank you. And NATO were actively in the field in Bosnia, weren't they? You were in Bosnia as the United Nations and as NATO. Yeah. But she doesn't know her history, and she wants to create this divisive narrative.
Forward to the present day. I will not go into the history of Palestine. Some of my colleagues have mentioned what had gone on, and the creation of Israel, or the occupation, or the expansion of the illegal settlements in the West Bank.
Well, if you want to talk about illegal settlements in the West Bank, why is it not in your motion, Ruji? Why is it not in your motion? I mean, get away if you can, that this is just gesture politics. And a local council talking about illegal settlements in the West Bank is just absolute. Yeah. She's desperately, what this woman is desperately trying to do is shore up her Muslim vote. That's what she's trying to do in Calder, shore up a Muslim vote that have told her, in the same way they told Ross Birch, that they won't be voting for Labour. So the crocodile tears and the rest of it by Ruji Sherjan. I'm going to ask Ruji, if I see out one of these community iftars, and I go to them, if I see you, I'm going to bring my camera up to you, record you and ask you, are you proud of Keir Starmer? You're a Labour Party councillor, Ruji Sherjan. I'm going to ask you a very simple question. Are you proud of Keir Starmer?
However, we've seen from reputable sources across political spectrum that journalists have been targeted, health facilities have been targeted and bombed, innocent children have been forced away from their families and killed by soldiers, and others being lost during the evacuations. Aid is being disrupted, and there are delays of aid going through Gaza.
So why have you not been speaking about this before now, Ruji? Why have you not been speaking about this before now? If I am to believe you're in any way genuine with your concerns, why have you not spoke about this before now? Why have you not attended one of the marches, Ruji, like the Oldham group lads have? Why not?
It is with the utmost urgency that I ask all members of the political spectrum, and I have
utmost urgency. Why is it utmost urgent now? Utmost urgent for whom? The people of Palestine, the people of Gaza, the people of Israel? Or is it urgent because your position in the trough is at risk? Because that's what ordinarily should happen, is your MPs represent you on national and international issues. Your MPs represent you on national and international issues. You're completely right, Jack. Why didn't she call out Jim McMahon for not speaking up? Why did she not call out Debbie Kashmir for going to a party instead of going to the vote?
heartbroken that the Conservatives didn't think it was worthy to heed these comments and to heed this motion, and they walked out.
And they walked out. Sorry, I've seem to have lost my internet on the... I don't know what's going on there. Let me try and reload the page. Was my iPad not connected to the internet? It was connected to the internet 2 seconds ago. Give me a second. Let me see what's going on. La la la. Settings. Wi-Fi. Turn it off and turn it on. La da 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 da. That's connected to the internet there. Minor glitch. Meetings. Live council meetings. Recording. An intermission like a Bollywood movie. It says, and I now can't find the link because the council have updated the link. Oh. Here we go. Sorry, my apologies.
To waste money. They keep planning things and they just fall through.
So here is Holly Harrison, worth listening to.
Whether I'm going to lose family members or whether my family home, my shelter, is going to be flattened.
This is a woman who has no idea. This is just a woman who has no idea.
We need to respect each other, and the words like stink don't really help. Thank you. Councillor Harrison, please.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Mr. Deputy Mayor, as I sat down to write this speech, within the comforts of my own home, with a hot drink in my hand, I was hit by a sense of privilege. How privileged I am to live without the daily, hourly, minute-by-minute fear of whether I'm going to be killed, whether I'm going to lose family members, or whether my family home, my shelter, is going to be flattened.
Oh my God.
To be able to go to bed at night without the sound of bombs, without the worry of literally starving to death, to not have to think about what is going on, is to me the very definition of being privileged. And that's why, although I wish it wasn't needed, I am thankful this motion and amendment has been brought forward. Some may state this motion has nothing to do with Oldham, but what's forgotten is that the suffering that's happened in all wars around the world does have everything to do.
Councillor Holly Harrison has had absolutely nothing to say on the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of little white girls in Chadderton South. Councillor Holly Harrison, privileged, self-described as privileged, will not speak out on the horrors inflicted upon little working-class white girls in our own town. In fact, she will vote against exposing those who are involved in the cover-up, but she wants to make gesture politics over what's happening thousands of miles away in these Obama-style speeches. Councillor Holly Harrison has aspirations to promote and go higher in the Labour Party. It is my hope that we take out Councillor Holly Harrison in Chadderton South and we end any prospect she has of advancing her political career in this town. Councillor Holly Harrison, by the way, is not from Chadderton South either. She's not local, she's an import brought in on a Labour Party ticket and is a stooge of Arud Shah. Indeed. How about a girl who wants to go to bed without worrying she'll be trapped again the next day?
Humanitarianism. Mr. Deputy Mayor, what the Israeli state has done in the past and is doing today to men, women and...
She's criticising the Israeli state. What the Israeli state has done in the past and is doing today. Well, tell you what, Holly Harrison, the reason she's doing that is that sound bites, they want to use it to try and get the Muslim vote in Chadderton South. You're not getting a Muslim vote in Chadderton South. Holly Harrison, we've already seen to that. You're not going to get them. They're not going to come and vote for you for Labour. And if you wanted to criticise the Israeli state, why isn't it in your motion? Why isn't it in your motion, Holly Harrison?
Children in Gaza is unconscionable, as are the actions of Hamas on the people of Israel. As this Labour Council called for last year, international laws must be followed. There must be an immediate and lasting ceasefire to protect innocent civilian lives.
Your motion makes no reference to immediate and lasting ceasefire. They're making up words that so they can edit into sound bites that aren't actually in the motion that they're voting for.
All hostages must be released and returned to their families. There must be a lasting surge of medical and food aid into Gaza to stop the further loss of life. And as this motion and amendment, and our motion states, political leaders must work towards the peace of a...
I've had enough of her. You know she doesn't mean any of it because of the way she speaks.
To second an amendment.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you so much. I really don't know what to say about the actual motion from the Labour Party. It's unbelievable that Councillor Shah has been accusing everybody this evening of electioneering, and it's quite evident that this motion has only been added to this council meeting due to the Labour Party's desire not to lose too much support in their coming elections.
Yeah, 100%,
they want to pacify
100%,
their voters with a token
100%.
piece of paper which is not worth the paper that it is written on. How can you put a motion into this council which is so similar to the motion of the Labour Party that was put into the House of Commons? How is it that this motion does not have any substance? Why are we wasting time on this motion which does not call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire? Why are we not calling for humanitarian aid to safely arrive into Gaza, which is on the brink of a man-made famine? How can you say that innocent children and women have just died and not been killed and massacred? How can you not say to our government in your motion that we need to ensure basic needs for the populace of Gaza? How can you not say that the Israelis' policies in the occupied territories amount to apartheid and persecution? How can you not make clear to the majority of Oldhamers that this is not a political stunt, but this is a serious motion that can have an impact on our government? If you truly want to send a message to the UK government and to the Oldhamers that want peace, want the killing of children to stop, and that the plausible genocide should not occur, then send a strong message. Vote for our amendment and show that you genuinely want a solution to the problem and not be a part of it. I could go on, but I won't. I'm going to make this very quick because we've got quite a few, and I want to do the CSE motion if we can. But what?
Very clearly, Cameron Gafford knows what they've been playing at. Not only on his amendment, he doesn't take the time he's allowed, but also on his own, on their own Gaza motion. Those of you in the council chamber, you'll have seen that they waived the right to speak. They waived the right to speak to try and get the CSE motion spoken about. Blocked by Arood Shah's council, blocked by Eddie Moore's, yet again. What sort of... You know, honestly, I'm being honest with you now. I had no... when we started this journey, I genuinely did not believe we'd get to a point where in the council chamber we'd have Pakistani councillors standing alongside us whilst white women councillors blocked the debating of CSE. Because that's what that was about, standing up. That's what Holly Harrison was about. Filibustering, killing time. I did not believe I'd live to see Pakistani councillors standing up for us, whilst white women councillors, Labour Party councillors, white councillors continued to try and cover things up. And that's what he did. And that's why he got support.
I want to say that this is the holy month of Ramadan, and as we celebrate with our children here in our warm homes, I urge that the Labour councillors break away from their leadership and vote with your hearts. Vote for the people who have no voice. Send the Oldham Group's motion amendment to the UK government so that they can see that Oldhamers can see the atrocities that are happening and that they are demanding peace. Finally, we are not electioneering. We are standing for what we believe is right, and we have been on this path since October 2023. We have been suspended from the Conservatives, and it is quite a shame that they have left this chamber and not heard what we have to say. Well, some of your councillors were stating that the voters will forget by May. We don't have to say anything. Well, May is around the corner, and I don't think the voters have forgotten. And to say that we are electioneering on the massacre of Palestinians' lives is disgusting. Shame on you who think that. Shame on you.
So this is why I have time for Cameron and his guys. And remember, I mocked him. I took the piss out of him and all of them. They went to the marches. They stood by their principles. Whether you like them or not, they stood by their principles and they lost. You know, they were suspended by the Conservative Party. They knew what was going to happen to them. Now they're just a group of three with no resources, no team around them, trying their best to grow and get one of their own guys back over the line and get more councillors over the line, more candidates over the line. You don't have to like them. You've got to accept that they've stood by their principles, which is why I'm 100% certain he will stand by his word and the others will stand by their word in supporting us on our quest for justice for the survivors and to hold us accountable for the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our children. So that's Councillor Cameron Gaffer, leader of the Oldham Group.
Councillor Wahid, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The Gaza genocide is not solely a Muslim issue. It's a humanity issue that affects all humans. Injustice anywhere risks justice everywhere, whether it is the struggle of justice in our own communities or the plight of the Palestinian people thousands of miles away. As elected representatives, it is our duty to amplify the voices of our constituents and advocate for their sympathies and concerns. Our amendment condemns Keir Starmer shamelessly advocating for collective punishment against the Palestinians. Our amendment acknowledges that history did not start on 7th of October. Furthermore, the timing and language of the Oldham Labour Party's Gaza ceasefire motion are deeply troubling. This town is in no doubt that you always had the power to have had this motion presented at any time prior to today. The delay in advocating for an immediate ceasefire, coupled with the rhetoric employed, has not gone unnoticed. It appears to be a calculated response to shifting political tides rather than a genuine commitment to seeking justice.
He's right.
The motion regretfully falls short of addressing the urgent needs to halt permanently the genocide of the Palestinian men, women and children by the Israeli Zionist regime and is not fit for purpose. Instead, I implore all members to support the Oldham Group amendment, which demands an immediate and permanent ceasefire, cessation of weapons production and supply to Israel, and the utilisation of all diplomatic channels to end the violence and pave the way for a lasting peace. Do not be fooled. Having bombed and massacred the people of Gaza, Israel is now engineering a famine in Gaza where an estimated 200 people are dying of starvation every day. Let central government hear a unanimous voice from Oldham that all Oldhamers stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people. Oldhamers believe in the collective conscience of this nation. Vote for the Oldham Group amendment or prepare to be voted out by the people of Oldham. Free Palestine. Thank you.
At this point, we do not have any time for debate, so does Councillor Shah wish to reply?
Certainly. Firstly, I'd like to start by saying the whole of Councillor Gafford's response or making it in moving his amendment was exactly politicking. Let's just make it very clear. They could have brought the motion. He highlighted that they've been talking about this since the 7th of October.
They couldn't have brought the motion. The reason they couldn't have brought the motion was because they were suspended on the 7th once they attended the marches. And then they had to form a group, and this was the first council meeting that they could bring a motion to. Because the last council meeting was the budget meeting, but there was no motions. And Councillor Gafford has shown me the email correspondence he's had with the council where he's tried to take a motion to the budget meeting where he was told that the budget is a one-item agenda and there are no motions for this. So Arud Shah knows this. Arud Shah is yet again lying and deceiving and manipulating the people of this town. And you can see sat next to her, the smiling assassin, Mohan Ali. That's Councillor Mohan Ali of Chadderton Central, who's going around collecting postal votes. Isn't that right, Mohan? You're going around trying to secure postal votes for Elaine Taylor?
Well, the Labour group has always asked for an immediate ceasefire, and we did that right at the start.
That's another complete lie. The Labour group has always asked for an immediate ceasefire. There is no evidence of that ever taking place. It is just an outright lie. It's an outright lie. She's a liar. The leader of Oldham Council is a liar. I look forward to her campaigning on the streets of Glodick and seeing what happens to her while she's knocking on doors. And before anyone says anything, before Greater Manchester Police want to come and get me, if she gets chased down the street, lads, it's not a consequence of anything I've done or said. So don't try that one again. If she gets chased down the street, it'll be because of what she's said and done and what she hasn't done and how she's taking the people for fools. And Cameron Gafford and his team have exposed Arud Shah and the Labour Party for what they are, dividing and ruling our borough, the people of our borough, for a generation and more. And those days are now numbered.
All 10 authorities across Greater Manchester under Andy Burnham. So let's get the facts out there. Secondly, let us make it really, really clear. Councillor Gafford and the Oldham group could have brought this motion to this council since the 7th of October, like they said.
No, they couldn't.
But they didn't. They waited till the Conservatives got suspended them, and that's when they decided to bring this motion, because they were so desperately
Councillor
trying
Gafford,
to...
you have your right to reply shortly.
No.
They were so desperate to get back into the Conservative Party that they held on right till they were confirmed suspended.
The only one desperate is you, Arud Shah. You're so desperate for power, you're willing to throw people who supported you under the bus. You're so desperate for power. The only people desperate here is Arud Shah, Mohan Ali, and that's Barbara Brownridge sat there. These are the desperate ones. She is pure nasty and she is sinking. You're right. You can see they've got to her. They've got to her. She's flipped. Arud Shah has flipped because what she wanted to do hasn't worked. What she wanted to do hasn't worked.
And that's when they brought this motion to council. And also, no one is a self-proclaimed custodian of the Palestinian issue or the plight.
Well, you're definitely not, are you? All you are is someone who wants to use it for political benefit in the same way that Mince and Hurley and Ball wanted to and have used CSE for political benefit. I think that's very clear. And yes, they do have time limits on who they're speaking, but he ignores them because the mayor is not fit for purpose.
That those people are going through. Anyone with an ounce of humanity fears, cries, and is in pain for what's going on geographically so far. But what we won't be doing is accepting the amendment from the opportunist Oldham group. We won't be taking lectures from those who have intentionally attempted to...
Well, do you see? In all of her refusal to support the amendment, nowhere does she say what's wrong with the amendment. Nowhere does she say we disagree with this element of the amendment or that element of the amendment. She keeps talking about being nice, but clearly she is not capable of being nice herself. You know that cliche, play the player and not the ball? Sorry, play the ball and not the player? Well, she's playing the player, isn't she? Why is she not critiquing the amendment? I don't know why she is wearing a bin bag.
Division in our communities, who have been stirring hatred, in WhatsApp groups and are exploiting the emotional distress that this issue is causing on so many people.
Exploiting hatred in WhatsApp groups. She's making reference to me. She's making reference to many Muslims who are members of these WhatsApp groups. Myself and my friend Moy, by the way, are members of some of these WhatsApp groups. I'm not allowed on many of them because I get kicked out of them because they want to stop from hearing my reasoned responses because Arud Shah and her friends want to promote the hatred towards me. So I get took off. There's a big Palestinian WhatsApp group that I was taken off without me saying anything. And what I object to consistently, what Moy objects to consistently is blatant anti-Semitism. And the moderators on these WhatsApp group where we are members of immediately remove those posts and immediately have sanctioned the people who post those things. These WhatsApp groups have been on a journey in the same way you and I, and many of you have been on a journey where at one point we were easy to demonize the other, and we've now gone on a journey where we understand the grooming gangs for the nuances they have and who's really responsible. It's the same with the WhatsApp groups. The WhatsApp groups in particular focus on the Labour Party on the basis of what Keir Starmer said and the way in which the traditional core Labour Party vote has been betrayed in just the way as the white working class vote had been betrayed over the grooming gangs. And she is now claiming members of these groups as extremists. She wants the Muslims sanctioned. She's demonising the Muslims in exactly the same way she demonised you and me as far-right extremists. That is Eddie, that is Arud Shah. And of course, Eddie Moores is showing bias again because he should have taken the point of clarification.
People in Oldham for absolutely political ends. This is not a political issue. It is a humanitarian issue. And anyone using this for political gain should be ashamed, and that's the Oldham group. And this is why you saw me peacefully when I was making my comments, but they can't. Shame on Councillor Ghaffar and his Oldham Independent
ridiculous.
Group.
Yeah.
Shame on you, Shah.
Councillor Ghaffar, you're right to reply.
Yeah, thank you. Firstly, Councillor Shah, we were members and we were suspended because we went on to Palestinian marches. And yes, we were. Excuse me, it's my turn to speak now, please, Councillor Shah. So you have to listen, please, yeah?
Shut up, Shah.
My colleagues decided to resign from there, and we are representing the Oldham group. Now, we had no other option but to bring this motion to this council on this date because we formed our group back in, I can't remember whenever it was. We didn't have another option because it was a budget meeting last time, and we bought it at our first chance. And we have been speaking about this from the outset of the conflict in Israel. We haven't been waiting around. We haven't been dilly-dallying, getting permission from our masters because now we don't have any masters and we can do and say what the hell we want. And that's what we are going to do. And we're going to help the people of Oldham. We're going to speak for the people of Oldham. We're going to speak for the people of Palestine who do not have a voice. And that's why we are here today to send a message to our government. And I would urge you, please, Councillor Shah, come and support our amendment and condemn Keir Starmer, condemn your MPs who voted against it, condemn everything that is happening in Israel. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now vote on the amendment.
Could we have a recorded vote, please? Three. There you go.
See, the opposition helped them out.
Okay.
Help them out with the recorded vote.
Okay, as usual, please indicate for, against or abstain. On the amendment, we're voting on the amendment from the Oldham
group. So this is on Oldham Group's amendment.
Councillor Adams. Councillor Akhtar. Councillor Alamdani. For. Councillor Ali. Against. Councillor Arnott. Councillor Ball. Councillor Bashford Marie. Against.
Okay, so they lost the amendment, which means the Labour Party are supporters of genocide. If you believe the Labour Party brought a motion forward to stop the genocide, then the Oldham Group's motion clarified what was really taking place, and the jester politics, they failed on. They completely failed on. It was hilarious. It was genuinely what they tried to do, what Labour tried to do, they failed to do. And that's why Arud Shah was angry. What she tried to do, she failed to do. Ross Birch. I'm looking forward to delivering leaflets in Waterhead. On one side of my leaflets, there will be about your role and how you voted on Gaza. And on the other side will be how you voted on the grooming gangs. That's what my leaflets will be. They'll be the same Holly Harrison for you in Chadderton South. How you voted on Gaza and how you voted on the grooming gangs. Two sides of the same leaflet. I don't hide. Eddie Moores. Chadderton North. Exactly the same. And however mind, as I showed the Oldham Times last year when they falsely arrested me for inciting rape, made it up. Nothing came of that, by the way. Just made it up. I'm of a mind to deliver my leaflets in Glodick. I'm of a mind to deliver my leaflets in Glodick against Akil Salamat. Oh yeah, let's go to Glodick. Let's go and deliver some of these leaflets in Glodick. You will see that the tide has turned. The Muslims in Oldham have recognised how the Labour Party played them in exactly the same way the white working class have. We have a common enemy. We have common ground. And because of the work we've done through this platform for the last 5 years, we're on the same page. Our children, the white working class girls in Oldham, matter just as much as the children matter in Gaza. And to secure justice for both, we need to remove Labour from power. They might have won the vote and the amendment, but they lost the council that night. That's where they lost it. And in true Lewis Quigg style, he comes along. He comes along and takes the piss out of them. But I want to play something first. This was the Coliseum motion that was lost, but there's something I want to put on there that I want you to listen to.
Excuse me, all put your hands down and we'll start again. We're voting on the amendment.
Mr Deputy Mayor, point of order. The Chief Executive has just told a member of this council to shut up. That is bang out of order. That is below what is expected in this chamber. That is absolutely outrageous. Mr Catherall, that you should resign for that.
Mr Deputy Mayor, I apologise to Councillor Hamlet, who I hope will also...
The Chief Executive of Oldham Council told Councillor Louis Hamlet, to shut up and sit down. It's outrageous, but it just shows how much they've lost the council chamber. And this was after them being ripped apart on the Coliseum. Because we all know it's a fiddle. We all know what they're doing to the Coliseum is a fiddle. It's a land grab. It's a fiddle. And they also want to get rid of a theatre, because once you've got rid of a theatre, Oldham loses one aspect of its identity, and we just become, it's another step towards becoming one of Andy Burnham's slave subsidiary outlying towns for Manchester. So Lewis Quigg stands up and wants his resignation.
to apologise.
And the highlight of the night. Here we go. His mask did slip.
Right, we now move on to the Conservative Party motion. I call on Councillor Quigg to move and Councillor Sheldon to second the motion.
Thank you very much.
Okay, if you're finding value in this transmission, we are now coming up to 2 hours in. There's 156 of you. So if you're finding value in this transmission, please consider liking. I see 2 thumbs down, so that's very nice. I'm quite happy with that sort of feedback. 35 thumbs up. No super chats for a while. And I'll tell you if I've had any coffees bought for me, because I'm going to nip to the loo before I come back. And yes, absolutely no coffees brought for me either. So this is why I always wonder why I put these free-to-air content out, because it's I increasingly am disappointed by being taken for granted, I think. If anyone else was going to provide this analysis, they would provide this analysis. If anyone was going to lead this fight against Labour and taking back control of this council, they would have done it by now. If anyone else was going to do what I do, they would have done it by now. And the least I request of people is to buy me a coffee whilst I provide the analysis that I do. Because there's hours that go in before I turn on the mics and the cameras. I'll nip to the loo. I'll come back. I'll play this song for you, I think.
Too often, I'll set their face wide. I'll set their face wide. I'll set their face wide. Again, their face wide. Too often, I'll set their face wide. I'll set their face wide. I'll set their face wide. Again. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. You won't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. You can feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal phone, bare face wide, bare face wide, bare face wide.
Hey Sean, you got a party, got that Labour party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. But you won't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. You feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phone, bare face. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. But you won't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. You feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phone, bare face.
Comrades, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing, if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. But you won't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. But you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit cold, overgrown, postal phone, bare face. Is this where you wanna be? Debt and childhood poverty. Oh, somebody set us free from this corrupt kleptocracy. Oh yeah. Bare face wide. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. But you won't wonder where it's all gonna end, yeah. But you feel me, we never wanna defend, yeah. 'Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get chilly cold, overgrown, post-road, perfect. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda, and it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah.
Sorry, I'm just checking my emails whilst I'm waiting as well, and that's an email from my solicitor. So in the context of what's going on and what I do, you know, you all know I'm on trial on the 2nd of May and 3rd of May. That's Thursday the 2nd, election day, and Friday the 3rd. I'm on trial. And whilst I can't discuss the specifics of the trial, those of you who've been on the various case management hearings with me will know that I'm very clear on my innocence, and I urge all of you to attend. So that's the burden I carry with me, and I've been carrying with me for at least the last 3 years. And that's what they've been trying to do to shut me up, to stop me from doing what I am doing, which is providing this analysis.
Mr Deputy Mayor, I suspect Councillor Shah has been looking forward to this moment all night. Mr Deputy Mayor, Oldham Metropolitan Borough Council is for all intents and purposes stuck, unable to move forward and losing the support of the people needed to sustain it. It just isn't working. In the generosity spirit, one could say the leader of the council has been dealt a bad hand after following a number of predecessors. But given the council leader is in her 2nd innings as leader of the council, and it's now on its 6th council leader, 3 3/4 chief executive, and by my count, yet another town centre master plan, things are just going nowhere fast. We are told that this is a listening council that listens to the people and its staff, yet it soon pushes the mute button and ignores anyone who criticises what I assume the leadership in the bunker thinks is an original idea. Even the Manchester Evening News, a paper friendly to this administration, even said what people thought about the litany of failures in this borough, with one particular quote from one resident saying, "Oldham Council just loves to waste money. They keep planning things and they just fall through." Why did he do that? Well, the answer is simple. A lack of coherent planning, budgeting and commercial expertise means, like a row of dominoes, one project failure follows the other. It boils down to incompetence and poor leadership. Instead of focusing on being a council and delivering better public services, the council continues to embark on doing lots of things badly rather than doing what it should be doing well. No one person or party has a monopoly on good ideas, but sometimes your biggest critics, Councillor Shah, can be right, and it takes some humility to admit that. But the facts speak for themselves. Hotel Future was meant to deliver £4.3 million to the Oldham economy every year. It never happened. Hollywood Leisure Complex, and I quote, "Bringing an entertainment complex featuring restaurants, bowling and a cinema," never happened. We were meant to get a £60 million retail development, an M&S, which was meant to bring £21 million to the local economy. It never happened. Buying the Spindles and Town Centre shopping centre during the pandemic, and now the town faces the prospect of financial uncertainty. The flagship hotel, Marks & Spencer, and then a Lidl not coming to Princess Gate after years of waiting. Indeed, Councillor Sykes once said it was taking longer than the moon landings. Well, for all the time and money this council has spent, we could have sent Councillor Sykes to the moon and had him back in time for his tea in shore. The Town Hall Cinema, which was meant to cost £10 million. It was meant to cost £10 million, but cost nearly over £42 million. The flagship Egyptian tea rooms, empty for years, being propped up again with even more taxpayers' money. We failed to even find a new chief executive with yet another headline in the Manchester Evening News stating Greater Manchester Council can't find anyone good enough to fill a £164,000 job. I mean, come on, who's out there? We need somebody new. We need someone better. We fail. In fact, the more damning part of it, and to get to the more serious aspects of it, is that special educational needs and disabilities children were failed by this council and have been failed for years by this council, with the DFE issuing an improvement notice. That is shocking. And I could go on. The list of
The shiny-haired gentleman in the background is Alexander Bogotov. Alexander Bogotoff spent a chunk of that meeting staring at me along with his colleagues. So I just stood up, looked in their direction and stared right back, smiling. Maybe they'll ban me from the next council meeting for smiling in the direction of council officers. Alexander Bogotoff tried and failed to take an injunction out against me to try and silence me on raising alarm bells of all the things that Lewis Quigg talked about and more. Lewis is Shah's worst nightmare, and Lewis is why and I go back. The Royton Independents are attempting to blackmail Lewis Quigg by saying if the Conservatives stand in Royton South, we'll stand a candidate against you, knowing full well, Maggie Hurley knows full well that she cannot beat Lewis Quigg, but she will see Labour go through the middle. That's who Maggie Hurley is. That's who she is. The Royton Independents, that's who they really are. They're not in this with us. Because if they were in this with us, they'd be helping Lewis as much as possible.
Is not a laughing matter. One could muse how long it will be before the castles in the sky come crashing down to earth like they did at Prince's Gate, leaving taxpayers stuck with a hefty bill and higher council tax and perhaps even bankruptcy with another town centre master plan. Constantly hunting for the next big headline to save the skin of the town centre master plan, no amount of spin from the comms team can hide the fact the wheels have truly come off. The public are tired of this council's failures and excuses. The staff are demoralised.
He keeps his mic off on purpose, Eddie Moz.
The equivalent of a postcode lottery where lots of people are asked to pay and take part, only to find that even before the last tickets are sold, that the results and the winners have already been announced, leaving the majority worse off and out of pocket. Instead of treating the people of this borough like mushrooms, keeping them locked in the dark, we need sunshine and light. We need transparency and openness, with the sole aim of rebuilding Oldham Council from the bottom up, and making it work in the interest of those who pay for it. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Well done, Lewis. Well done. And Sheldon finds a backbone. Sheldon finds a backbone and seconds it.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I rise to second this motion of no confidence in the leader of the council and their administration. I do so because I have become increasingly disappointed in the decline of this great borough. I have lived and worked in Oldham all my life, and right now we are watching the heart and soul of Oldham being sucked out. Our residents feel the same, let down with the borough's downward spiral. The will they, won't they of Princess Gate, the loss of the Colosseum, the loss of the QEO, the loss of the green belt through places for everyone. I could go on. Time and time again, it is our residents who are losing out and left to foot the bill through ever-increasing council tax. It has become increasingly apparent that the leader of the council is not prepared to listen. Her door, it seems, is shut. Shut not just on her critics, but unfortunately shut to the people of Oldham who are crying out for the council to take a different approach. Only recently we had a so-called budget consultation in which both residents and council staff were asked to give their ideas. Except it wasn't a consultation, and for all intents and purposes the decisions had already been made. Sadly, this isn't a one-off occurrence. The leader and this council are keeping residents in the dark. It won't give our residents all the facts, in fear of them drawing their own very different conclusions. Residents and businesses all say the same. This council isn't listening. This administration isn't listening. Surely they can't all be wrong. The council leader cannot keep hiding away in the civic centre, shutting out the bad news. This chamber needs to decide tonight whether the people of this borough should have a council leader who is unwilling to listen, unwilling to learn from her mistakes, and unwilling to do the right thing, or whether, finally, we admit that a change of direction
Yes.
is needed.
Yes, Graham.
Whilst this administration continues, it is the people of Oldham who are suffering. We can do better. We must do better. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
We have time for one speaker.
Wow. Unheard of. When Graham Sheldon turns, and he's a nice man, when he turns, you know you've lost the borough. When he speaks out against you, you know you're coming to the end of your journey as a tyrant. Because he tries to see the best in everyone. It's gone for Shah. It's gone for Shah. Which is why she then did this.
But keep it short, Councillor Hamblett.
Thank you, sir.
And this is Hamblett. Louis Hamblett joins in. And it's good. Listen to him.
I mean, I'm not particularly fond of putting names into things. However, because I'd like to remove some not quite naming names. However, I'd like to talk about this motion because obviously there have been quotes in it. And of course, I'd like to quote the late Duke of Wellington, who said, "Wise people learn when they can, fools learn when they must." That could be said for this administration.
Yes.
It is not best to make things personal by naming names, particularly officers from the executive who normally can't defend themselves. I agree the information is drip-fed, and we in the opposition and backbenchers at this side of the chamber feel as if we are kept in the dark and having to scramble around and fight for information from the administration's officers, having to chase and send out weekly begging emails just to obtain some form of information that by rights we as councillors are entitled to. This place is too siloed in both its thinking and its working. The administration say, we are member-led council. Well, Mr. Deputy Mayor, let me read you and the...
Before he reads, Louis Hamblett is now criticising the council officers who are blocking councillors from doing their jobs. This is a member-led council. Democracy is member-led. We elect politicians into power and they lead. And it's for the council staff, the public servants, that's what they're called, public servants, the officers, to provide councillors with the information they require and need so they can make the decisions. And it's for the politicians to make the decisions and for the officers to implement those decisions. That's how democracy works. Have a look at Emma Barton's face. Have a look at the want-to-be chief executive behind Emma Barton's face. Have a look at Gerard Jones in the background. These people are being called out. These people are being called out by the Liberal Democrats, who are genuinely very nice towards the council officers. Now, Emma Barton and her friends wouldn't have the nerve to do what they're doing if Arud Shah wasn't supporting them. The opposition are being prevented from doing their jobs. Councillors are being prevented from doing their jobs by senior council officers that you pay for hundreds of thousands of pounds, millions of pounds that you pay their wages for. And this is not democracy. This is the breakdown of democracy. And well done to Louis Hamblett.
But the excerpts and the feedback from the LGA's corporate peer challenge, and for all intents and purposes to the members of the public here, it's a little bit like self-Ofsteding. The team received examples of when members had reached points of requesting information via freedom of information requests. Elected members spoke of experiences of...
Councillors should not be requesting for information via freedom of information requests. It demonstrates a breakdown in the normal rules and procedures when councillors have got to submit freedom of information requests to get information out of the council that they represent. It's absurd. It's completely absurd.
Residents who would often avoid calling the council, logging inquiries directly rather than going directly to local councillors first. Members are then required to use the same systems as residents to raise those queries, to then have a similar experience of delay and in some instances no response at all. It is important that members are fully supported in how they are assisted in casework queries that they receive. Improving the resident experience of the council services would help to take some of the pressure off ward members who are then freed up to play an important role in their community and their council. While we agree with some sentiments of the motion, hopefully the electorate will also see the same and we can do better after May.
We can do better after May. So they're gearing up for the election.
You have a right to reply. We've got 1 minute.
I think I've said everything I can, so I'll move to the vote.
Oh, okay, Councillor.
So I don't get why Councillor Shah's speaking here. We move to the vote.
Right reply. Right reply, so you can speak, Councillor
Thank
Shah.
you, Mr. Mayor.
See? Do you see?
So,
He's making the rules up as he goes
I'm not
along.
going to say, Mr. Deputy Mayor, that I'm surprised by this pathetic motion brought by
You're
the Conservative
pathetic,
group.
Shah. You're pathetic.
This is just another incident in a long campaign of very personal harassment by the Councillor Quigg. I'm slightly surprised at Councillor Sheldon, though, seconding this motion, just 2 years after putting his name to the politics, not personalities.
Well, maybe a lot has happened in those 2 years. Maybe a lot has happened, Shah.
With civility and respect. This motion is a mixture of misinformation and malice. It provides no solutions, no policies, no ideas to make this borough a better place for the people we represent. It just talks this borough.
A motion of no confidence is not supposed to do any of that. A motion of no confidence is simply a motion to say, do you have confidence in the leader of the council and her administration? Yes or a no. That's what a motion of no confidence is. We've had enough of you. Once again, the imbecile has no idea.
And brings the reputation of politics down with it. Nobody wants this type of politics. People want solutions to the very real problems they are facing.
People want solutions to the very real problems they are facing. Which is why you brought to this council, Arud Shah, not the politicking motion of Gaza that we can argue over, the rights and wrongs over. What you brought to this council chamber for the last meeting of the year, Arud Shah, before the elections, was a motion by the Labour Party sending a letter to the Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham to say what a great job he's doing over the buses. That's what she did. Let the evidence speak for itself rather than the words of this liar.
Solutions to the cost of living crisis, to the housing crisis, to the crisis facing our public services that have been decimated by government cuts.
Oh, it's the government.
This style of malicious, untrue, conspiracy, theory-based politics deserves to stay in the dark corners of the internet where it was born.
Dark corners.
The very same dark corners where death threats and personal attacks on individual members of this chamber.
Who submitted a death threat on individual members of this chamber? The only person that's been involved in death threats are you, Arud Shah. You posted love hearts to death threats made against me. That's what the leader of Oldham Council did. She posted love hearts in response to death threats. She hangs off the arm of a convicted gangster who goes around threatening members of the public. That's where the criminals are operating. Who's up for trial, Arud Shah, in August? Who's up for trial, Arud Shah? You're right, Ian. The Labour Party is the very real problem we are facing, every one of us in this borough.
Issued on a daily basis. The same dark corners who laughingly refer to samosas and mango chutney when...
Samosas and mango chutney! We've got it! Samosas and mango chutney! Give me the samosas and mango chutney! Samosas and mango chutney! Oh, I'm just going to have to play it back. Sorry, I got excited. My apologies.
Samosas and mango chutney when they discussed Asian members of this chamber.
Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Whoa, 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 whoa! You vermin! I do not use the term samosas and mango chutney when I refer to Asian members of this chamber, of your chamber. I refer to samosas and mango chutney when I'm enjoying a nice samosa. I like to nibble on a samosa. And if there's anyone who I've mocked If there's anyone who have mocked about nibbling samosas, who is it? Is it an Asian member of this council chamber? Is it? No. My brother Jamal! I've been mocking the MP Jim McMahon when I make reference to samosas and mango chutney. That's because he turned up to all the Asian houses to nibble on a samosa. Now, it definitely isn't racist. Thank you, Guy. From the outset. And honestly, I've made it very clear. I like a good samosa. I genuinely enjoy a good samosa. I'm not a mango chutney fan, but I genuinely enjoy a good samosa. And I've said to my friends, when you invite me around for iftar, I don't want none of that nonsense phyllo pastry small samosas. I said that to my sister the other day. I don't like them. I like the big, thick Punjabi samosa with the, you know, the authentic mint sauce with the bits in it. None of the watery thin nonsense. Samosas and mango chutney. You know you've got her when she's crying about samosas and mango chutney.
Can I raise a point of order, please?
Who make comments about the personal
Mr. Deputy
appearances
Mayor, I have
of
a point
members
of order.
of this chamber.
Mr. Deputy Mayor,
I will make comments about the personal appearances of members of our chamber when they dress like scruffs and attend the council meetings representing the people of this town. I expect people to dress in an appropriate way when representing the people of this town, and I do not believe I am alone in that viewpoint.
point of order. Is Councillor Shah not going to abide by the council's constitution now?
What is the, excuse me, what is the point of order?
The point of order is on timings, because you told us there was 1 minute left for this section.
Yes.
And she's already spoken for more than a minute.
I think, Mr. Deputy Mayor,
yes,
if I could finish, the same dark corners who make comments about the
This was what was
personal
discussed
appearances,
at the leaders' meeting.
about the personal appearances
About
of
a
members
point of
this
order. I'm so
chamber.
sorry, Mr. Deputy Mayor. You said order, then it should happen, and you said it was 1 minute, so it shouldn't last more than 1 minute, please, because that's what you said in the leaders' meeting. So this is actually a point of order, and Councillor Woodwine is quite right.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor.
Sit her down.
Right of reply, because I've never heard so much trash in my life come out.
You tell her, Lewis.
I mean, I'm absolutely shocked. Conspiracy theories. Well, I'll tell you what, Councillor Shah, I wonder which person decided to try and obtain CCTV of my whereabouts. Perhaps we can answer that one, can we? Of what's been going on, since we want to start talking about disclosure. But then again, the truth is always far from reality with Councillor Shah. The people of this borough are sick and tired of what's going on in this chamber tonight. This point scoring, you say, people can't criticise what this administration's doing. And yet straight away you're on the attack to members like Councillor Sheldon, who's got every democratic
Point of
right,
information, Mr.
democratic
Deputy Mayor.
right,
Point of information.
democratic right
Point of information.
So she wants a point of information now, but remember how Eddie Moores refused Cameron Ghaffar a point of information earlier. Yes, remember? This mayor is not fit for purpose.
And
Can we stop a minute?
motion.
An accusation has been made that I tried to obtain CCTV. I'd like Councillor Lewis quick to
That's not
prove
what he
that.
said. That's not what he said.
That's another conspiracy theory.
That's
That's
not what
why.
he
I've got better things to do with my
I'm
time.
quite happy to have the record reviewed on that, Councillor Shah, but I'm more than happy to review that. On the
Not review. Apologise for misleading
He's
the
not gonna
chamber.
apologise.
Apologise
He's
for
not going to
spreading a lie.
apologise. I'm not going to apologise.
Spread a lie, and I'll be very clear on that matter.
Councillor Quigg, are you actually saying that
I didn't say that, did I?
Yes, he
I don't
did.
know,
He
Matt.
said I
What did
obtained
you do?
CCTV.
No.
Clarify what you
No,
said.
he didn't.
He said I
That's not what I
obtained
said.
CCTV.
No, he never.
I'd like to see
He
the
never said.
CCTV.
Listen to this very carefully. I'll go backwards. She got trapped. She got trapped, and you got owned, Darude Shah, because I'll say it. You did go to the Blue Tiffin to try and obtain CCTV, but he never said that. Listen to what Councillor Quigg actually did say. It's very clever, and we knew we'd get her. We knew we'd get her.
samosas and mango chutney when they discuss Asian members of this chamber.
Mr Deputy
The
Mayor, can I
same
raise a
dark
point of order,
corners
please?
who make comments about
Listen
the
to what
personal
Lewis
appearances
says.
Mayor, I have
of
a point of
members
order.
of this chamber.
Mr Deputy Mayor, I have
This
a point of
motion-
order. Is Councillor Shah not going
this
to abide by the
motion-
Council's constitution now?
What is the, excuse me, what is the point of order?
The point of order is on timings, because you told us there was 1 minute left for this section, and she's already spoken for more than a minute.
I think, Mr Deputy Mayor, if I could finish, the same dark corners who make comments about the
This was
personal
what was discussed at the leaders' meeting.
about the personal appearances
About
of
the
members
point of
this
order, I'm so
chamber.
sorry, Mr Deputy Mayor. You said order, then it should happen, and you said it was 1 minute, so it shouldn't last more than 1 minute, please, because that's what you said in the leaders' meeting. So this is actually a point of order, and Councillor Woodwine is quite right.
Yes.
Can we right.
Listen to what Lewis says.
Thank
Listen
you very
to
much,
what
Deputy
Lewis
Mayor. I will
says.
take out my right of reply, because I've never heard so much trash in my life come out of the leader's mouth. I mean, I'm absolutely shocked. Conspiracy theories. Well, I'll tell you what, Councillor Shah, I wonder which person decided to try and obtain CCTV of my whereabouts. Perhaps we can...
Which person tried to obtain CCTV of my whereabouts? Perhaps we can...
answer that one, can we?
We can answer that one. He does not make any allegation of Arud Shah trying to obtain. Perhaps we can, you know. So it's very clear there. It's very, very clear there.
CCTV of my whereabouts. Perhaps we can answer that one.
Those in favour of the amendment? Could we have a recorded vote?
Sorry, we lost there.
But then again, the truth is always far from reality with Councillor Shah. The people of this borough are sick and tired of what's going on in this chamber tonight. This point scoring, you say, people can't criticise what this administration's doing.
Look at
straight away,
Bogatov.
you're on the attack to members like Councillor Sheldon, who's got every democratic
Point of
right.
information, Mr
Democratic
Deputy Mayor.
right
Point of
to-
information.
democratic right
Point
to
of
condemn
information.
and
Can we stop a minute?
motion.
Point of
An accusation has been made that I tried to obtain CCTV. I'd like Councillor Lewis Quick to prove that. That's another conspiracy theory. That's why. I've got better things to do with my
I'm
time.
quite happy to have the record reviewed on that, Councillor Shah, but I'm more than happy to review that.
Not review. Apologise for misleading the chamber. Apologise for spreading a lie.
Not spread a lie. I've not spread a lie, and I'll be very clear on that matter.
Councillor Quigg, are you actually saying that
I didn't say that, did I?
Yes, he did. He said I obtained CCTV.
Clarify what you said.
He said I obtained CCTV.
No,
I'd like to
he
see
did
the
not
CCTV.
say. He did not say she obtained CCTV, and the reason she failed to obtain CCTV, so we're clear, is Arud Shah, my mate Jack at the Blue Tiffin, refused to hand over the CCTV to you. My friend Jack at the Blue Tiffin refused to hand over the CCTV footage to you, and the consequence of that was that the Blue Tiffin then got a 1-star health rating, mysteriously. That's what happened. This is gangster politics led by a council leader who hangs off the arm of a convicted gangster. And she's taken the gangster politics into the council chamber.
That's not what I said.
Mr Deputy Mayor, I'd like to see the CCTV. Or is he going to admit that it's another conspiracy theory? I am not bothered about this motion. I can take it on the chin. But what I want him to do is admit that he just lied.
Let's calm down and sit down. If you've got proof that we've got somebody's taken CCTV of you, please produce it to Councillor
That's not
Shah
what he said.
and to the Chief Executive.
That's not what he said.
That's not what I said, but
Thank you.
Quite confused as to what's going on here.
Just finish off what you're saying, please.
Well, we'll start again, shall we? No. But to the point of the substantive part of the motion,
We're at the end of time.
Councillor Sheldon's got every right to second this motion.
We're going to
I
move
think
to
it's
a
very
vote.
right that it's proper that Councillor Sheldon should have his right to democratic response. But on that point, I will stand and move to the vote, if that's okay, Mr. Deputy.
Vote of no confidence in Arud Shah.
Does Council agree the motion? Those in favour?
No, Mr Deputy Mayor, we have a recorded vote. Yeah.
Do you see how she interrupts?
Agreed.
Okay, there's been a request for a recorded vote. As usual, please indicate for, against or abstain. Councillor Adams, Councillor Akhtar, Councillor Al-Hamdani, Councillor Ali, Councillor Arnott, Councillor Ball, Councillor Bashforth Marie.
Against.
Councillor Bashforth Stephen, Councillor Birch.
Against.
Councillor Bishop, Councillor Brownridge, Councillor Byrne, Councillor Charters.
Against.
Councillor Cosgrove, Councillor Davis,
Against.
Councillor Dean, Councillor Fryer,
Against.
Councillor Gafford,
For.
Councillor Gloucester, Councillor Goodwin, Councillor Hamlet,
For.
Councillor Harkness, Councillor Harrison, Holly, Councillor Harrison Jennifer, Councillor Hintz, Councillor Holbin,
For against the administration rather than any personality.
Councillor Hurley, Councillor Hussain Aftab, Councillor Hussain Feeder, Councillor Hussain Junaid, Councillor Hussain Sajid, Councillor Ibrahim, Councillor Iqbal, Councillor Irfan, Councillor Islam, Councillor Jabbar, Councillor Kenyon, Councillor Lancaster, Councillor Malik, Councillor Marland, Councillor McLaren, Councillor Moores, Councillor Murphy, Councillor Mushtaq, Councillor Nasheen, Councillor Quigg, Councillor Ria,
For. Against the administration.
Councillor Salamat, Councillor Shah, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Sheldon, Councillor Shuttleworth, Councillor Surgeon, Councillor Sykes, Councillor Taylor, Councillor Wahid, Councillor Williamson, Councillor Woodvine. For.
The Oldham group voted in favour of no confidence alongside the Conservatives.
I didn't quite get what Councillor Hurley voted for. For.
You can't add up. Oh, come on.
The motion was lost.
That motion is through. Come on.
Just checking. 31 against, 25 for.
31-25. Some people were out of the room. We're close. We're absolutely close. And of course, by the time the CSE motion then came, Eddie Moores would not allow Brian Hoban to speak. Let's play the lead up to it before we finish, because I'd like to finish on that. Some of the Lib Dems voted for, some of them left the room. I think you can see Helen Bishop left the room and Councillor Williams left the room.
Sorry. 25 for, 31 against. No?
No, it's not enough support.
Not enough support, so straight to the vote then. No, the vote on the amendment, those in
Sorry.
favour.
Councillor Iqbal. Councillor Irfan. Councillor Islam.
The amendment was lost. We will now move to vote on the motion. Those in
Deputy Mayor, can
favour?
move a recorded vote, and I've got the numbers for that.
Where are they?
Sorry, I'm just struggling on this.
Deputy Mayor, do I get a right of reply at any point?
No?
No, it's not enough support.
Not enough support, so
Oh,
straight
there's
to
a
the
problem with it. Let's start from here. Here we go. Yeah, that's exactly Helen Bishop. No balls, but gives it all on Facebook. She didn't want to vote, Gary, is why she left. They're wasting time, is what they were doing. You can see them wasting time.
Surprise, surprise. Half 6 it started. The extensions.
The amendment is lost. 4-17 against 32.
Surprise, surprise.
So,
So the Conservatives walked out again and walked back in. This was Cameron
now the
Guffaw.
second amendment, moving on to that. Straight to the vote. Can we move the second amendment?
Can I say something?
Musical chairs.
Just, okay, it's been moved, seconded.
Second, Mr Deputy Mayor.
Right, move to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? The amendment is carried. We will now move to the vote on the amended motion. So, those in favour? Those against? Any abstentions?
Sorry, we are 4. Sorry.
So you're for? Right, okay. The motion as amended is carried. Thank you.
Come on. Oh, you've got a minute.
Yeah, motion 4, Councillor Oldham. Do you wish to move the motion?
I do, Mr Deputy Mayor. First, like to know if we're going to have time for this. Are you going to allow time for this?
We've got a couple of minutes, that's all.
I think, do we have an extension on this, Mr Deputy Mayor? Because I believe...
No, we've got the guillotine at quarter to. We've got
this motion has been before the council before, or a similar motion, and I think not being able to debate this motion, such a serious issue, is a dereliction of this chamber's duties. With that, I will put this motion forward for a vote. I'm asking every single member of this chamber to vote for this motion, because this is something we desperately need in Oldham, something like the Telford inquiry, where we get to the root of the evil that has been caused. And I ask everybody with their conscience to vote for this. And I do apologise to the members that are watching, or the members that are listening to this, that we have yet again not had the chance to debate it. It may be that we bring it back. with a different administration and the numbers better for us next year.
Councillor Ray, do you wish a second? Just second, no time to speak in, sorry.
No time to speak.
Everyone who fancied themselves as actors tonight, I hope you're proud of yourselves, because we've run out of time. It's easy to look you all in the eye, and I hope you can look back when you're saying against.
I call on Councillor Hinds to move and Councillor Ball to second the amendment. No time to speak, I'm afraid.
Withdraw that amendment. Withdraw that amendment.
Could members of the public please stop? You've been well behaved tonight, so please
withdraw that amendment.
Councillor Hinds, could you please move?
Yeah.
This motion.
I'm waiting for our turn.
Councillor Hinds, would you please move the motion?
Yes, I'd like to move the amendment. I fully support Brian, and as an independent of my colleagues, we've always voted in favour of an independent inquiry. We put this motion forward simply to strengthen it.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd like a recorded vote, please, on the amendment.
Okay. Councillor Ball, would you like to say?
She doesn't even know how to turn her camera on. I mean, to turn her microphone on. Doesn't even know how to turn her microphone on.
Yeah, you second.
Yeah, I'm seconded, but please give these people a day in court.
And the motion has got nothing to do with a day in court.
Shame on you for seconding that.
Oh, sorry. You need 5 men. Do people wish a recorded vote? No?
Failed. Humiliated. Hinds was minced.
The vote on the amendment. Those in favour.
Ball found out she did not have a big team. Look at that.
Those against.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. Whoa, 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 I missed it. Look at that. I want you to look at the amendment. Sandra Ball seconds the amendment, right? Sandra Ball seconded the amendment with Mark Hinds' amendment. Does Sandra Ball raise her hand voting with? Does Sandra Ball raise her hand voting with?
Councillor Bashforth Stephen. Councillor Birch.
Plead with you.
Have a look to see if Sandra Ball lifts her hand to vote for the amendment that she actually seconded. I don't see a hand rise. Have a look to see if she raises her hand.
Forward simply to strengthen it.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd like a recorded vote, please, on the amendment.
Okay. Councillor Ball, would you like to second? Yeah, are you second?
Yeah, I'm seconded, but please give these people a day in court.
Shame on you, Sandra. Shame on you.
We will now move to a recorded vote.
Shame on you for seconding that.
Have a look at the bottom left-hand corner.
Do people wish a recorded vote?
Have a look at the second left. You see Hinds' vote?
No. Not enough support, so straight to the vote then. No, the vote on the amendment, those in favour.
Oh yes, she does. It's hidden by Finger's hand. It's hidden by... So those are the only two. Those are the only two. Outrageous.
Well, members of the public, there's no need for that sort of language. Please treat people with respect. Thank you. The amendment was lost. We will now move to vote on the motion. Those in
Deputy Mayor, can
favour?
move a recorded vote, and I've got the numbers for that.
Where are they?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, do I get a right of reply at any point?
Look at he's a clown in here, Eddie Moores. He wanted to prevent a right of reply.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you for voting down the amendment, which I think weakened the original motion. And I think it's a shame that other independent councillors did that against the Failed of Independent Party's motion. Once again, I will reiterate to members in this chamber to think about the consequences of voting against this motion. We need to root out the evil. We need accountability for what's gone on in the past before we can move forward properly. I plead with you, I plead with the members to vote with the motion, to vote for a judge-led inquiry into what has gone on in this borough. And I hope, if it does get voted down, which I fear it will with the numbers against us, I hope again that people will realise in May they can make a difference, and let's get it voted through then. Thank you.
We'll now move to the recorded vote. Thank you.
In May, we can make a difference. In May, we can make a difference, and the only way of making a difference in May is removing Labour Party politicians from power. The only way we will win in May is if Brian Hoban and Mark Wilkinson sit down and agree not to put candidates up in each other's wards. The Failsworth Independent Party needs to agree not to put up candidates in the West, and likewise Mark Wilkinson, who is now being shamed by what's gone on in the council because he's part of Hintz's clan, has to find a spine, has to do the right thing and accept that putting a candidate up against Lucia will only result in a Labour Party councillor being elected. To the individual who claimed rather Labour than Failsworth Independent, that's a senior political figure in Failsworth, and we all know who I'm talking about, who claimed rather Labour than Failsworth Independent Party, rather the continuing cover-up of the gang rape of little girls in our town. So I can get back at Raja Miah, I can get back at Brian Hoban. Shame on you.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011, he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.